Just off the southern tip of Manhattan on New York's Governor's Island, an unprecedented program is underway to restore New York Harbor's once bountiful oyster population and the environmental benefits they bring. It's called the Billion Oyster Project. What's more amazing, it's an effort launched by students at the New York Harbor School.
Filmmakers followed their progress for a year to create the Discovery Channel documentary Take Back the Harbor, premiering on Tuesday. Here's a preview.
Growing up in the Bronx, I didn't know about the harbor. I got to know about the harbor once I got to the school.
New York Harbor used to be amazing.
Dolphins used to be seen in New York Harbor frequently, and whales.
We had seahorses that we were able to see from the water. We had seals. We had oysters that you can walk down on the pier and just grab an oyster right out of the harbor, and you can eat it right then and there.
Oyster beds really were just what made the Hudson River and the East River such a hub of life. Oysters also, they filter like 50 gallons a day of water. It's a lot of water, and that's per oyster.
Sure is a lot of water. Joining us now are the documentary's co-director, Kirsti Jacobson, and recent Harbor School graduate, Bryan Campbell. Good morning to you both. So glad you're here. I know you get to get up extra early today for an 18-year-old. He's still like, what's happening? So, Kirsti, tell us how you even got involved and interested in this.
Yeah, well, a colleague of ours at Discovery had heard a little piece on the radio about the Harbor School. And my co-director, Ross Williams, and I arrived at Governor's Island to check it out and met Bryan among other students. And just when we saw them literally in action, saving the harbor, it just felt like it was a story we really needed to tell.
And you spent an entire year shooting this.
Yeah. So what we did is we filmed over a school year, but it's also like the year of oyster restoration. A lot of different work can happen in the summer, obviously in the water, diving under the water in the winter, and we filmed some pretty major reefs being installed in the water.
I'm amazed by this project, Bryan. I understand you vetoed your mom on going to the Harbor School.
She didn't want you to go?
It's not, she imagined like a traditional lawyer, doctor. I was a rebel, and I kind of just said, no, I'm going to go to Harbor School.
Yeah.
And it kind of worked out.
How did you know about it? What they were doing?
So I didn't know about like too much into it. Murray Fisher, the founder of the Harbor School, he came to come visit my junior high school, and I was just like, all right, I'm gonna put it down. I put in my last choice, and I ended up getting in, and I wound up liking it.
What have you actually been doing regarding with the oysters?
So I'm in the vessel operations. So basically, with the boats, we transport the oysters as well as the other students, like in aquaculture, the one that's more hands-on with the oysters, to the reef site. But as far as transportation, we also do safety and navigation, so we know how to get there and everything.
He was driving the boats that we were filming on. Yeah.
So why were so many oysters? Why was the oyster population depleted, and how were you able to repopulate?
I mean, so the New York Harbor was literally once the oyster capital of the world. We ate them like crazy.
Yeah.
We polluted the waters, and we dredged, so bigger ships could come through, and all of those things just kind of decimated the oyster population. When this project started, like something like 4 years ago, there were almost zero oysters in the harbor. Yeah. And today, thanks to the work of Bryan and the other students of the Billion Oyster Project, there's 28 million and growing.
Wow. To be clear, we are not to eat these oysters. Right,
it's a
Bryan?
good point. Yeah.
Definitely not. So they're specifically bred for like cleaning up the harbor and filtering, and plus you wouldn't want to eat a oyster out of New York Harbor. That's.
But one day.
Why are oysters so important? What do they do?
So they filter the water. So they
An extraordinary amount.
Yeah, something like
50 gallons a day.
50 gallons a day.
Yeah.
They also provide storm protection, and that's a really important role that they can play here in New York City.
Yeah.
And then also, as the reefs build, as they get created, it creates like a habitat for other underwater life. So they're really essential to rebuilding the harbor.
They're gatekeepers, really.
Yeah.
So
And
Bryan,
who knew, right? I mean, I live in New York.
Yeah, I didn't.
I did not know.
didn't know until we just saw that clip.
Yeah, right.
Bryan, how hard has it been to try to take on this project?
It hasn't been hard at all because you have everybody guiding you. It's definitely a big goal, so you kind of have your doubts sometimes, but I know we're going to get there.
It's really exciting what you guys are doing.
Yeah, we're
Bryan
proud of you.
Campbell, thank you so much. Kirsti Jacobson, really interesting doc. You remember, you can see Take Back the Harbor this coming Tuesday, December 19th on the Discovery Channel. Kirsti, Bryan, thanks again for coming
you
in.
so much.
Really interesting.